Who was the fight? Was you were coaching? Who was the fight you guys got into, and you and somebody squared up, and you guys grabbed each other?
Arizona.
Yeah, who did you grab?
And I was like, when I was Dodgers. Yeah, I had Matt Williams and who was it? Oh my God, I forget. Like I had him in my arms. Like I was just like, I was so pissed. It's like, you know what? It's one of those things where I don't get really pissed off a lot. But if I do get pissed off, I mean, I get boiling, and sometimes I don't even know my own strength, and it's just one of those things where it's just like I couldn't stand it. They hit Puig, and then they hit Puig in the face, and then they hit Greinke up in the shoulder, and then it was Katie bar the door, and then next thing you know, we're going on there, and I think it was Ian Kennedy that ended up doing it, and they had the pitcher warming up in the bullpen prior to Ian Kennedy taking the mound. So, let's put two and two together. We knew what was going on. And my whole thing was them admitting that they were doing this, and they didn't say a word.
Yeah,
Kirk Gibson, right?
Dude, I'm not.
Yeah, Gibson. Yeah.
If Mark McGwire grabs me and he has me in the air with one arm and he has someone else in the air with one arm, yes, sir. Whatever. Yeah. Yep. Go kick his ass. Put me down and go kick his ass.
I was right. I got suspended 2 games for that. I got fined. So it wasn't a pretty moment. And, I do think some of these things could be happening. I mean, could happen today. Unfortunately, they put a kibosh on this thing today. And I just wish that the umpires would be a little bit more tougher skinned and allow things. It's funny. My kid sent me some videos the other day about the old Earl Weaver and Tommy Lasorda getting thrown out, but they would go out there and they would it's all about entertaining the fans, right? And they would have these like screaming, yelling matches with these umpires, and the umpires would sit there and take it, and it was absolutely hilarious. Some of the stories you see and hear, and then today it's like the umpires. Listen, I totally respect what they're doing, but I wish they had a little bit tougher skin and not listen, they're not going to get it right all the time, just like players don't get it right all the time, and. I just wish there were sometimes the umpires would say, you know what, AJ, you probably see this behind home plate. They'll say if the umpire misses a call, right, he calls it a strike, he misses it, and the player turns around and starts screaming at him. If an umpire just said, you're right, I missed it, what's the player going to do? The player's just going to sit there and go, he can't argue that. The umpire just admitted he missed it.
That helps.
And then it's over with.
A lot.
But the thing is the umpires today, they want to be right all the time, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. Who cares? Yeah.
It's one of the top 5 home runs ever hit, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is shown them. I mean, his home run when he hit 62. I mean, Kirk Gibson. There's a few that are like, oh wow, and people are like, so were you on the field when this happened? Were you at first base?
Yeah, it went right over my head.
Were you like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. And it's well, the thing is like, so Dennis Eckersley, who was nails, right? Never walked anybody, never did anything. He walks Mike Davis, who was the pinch hitter, on 4 straight pitches, and that was the thing that I was like sitting there going, what are we doing? I mean, really? So if he hits the home run, he ties the ball game. What are we having supposedly the go-ahead run come to the plate? And I couldn't believe that. I was just like, what? I mean, I've never seen Dennis do that, really. 4 straight balls. Ended up walking. And then on top of it, he was a pinch hitter. And I don't ever think that we ever thought that Kirk Gibson was going to be pinch hitting. He couldn't do anything. I believe his hamstring was totally separated and it was just completely, but that's his mentality, former football player. And his mentality was, I'm not going to be on the, back then they called it the DL and now it's the IL, but so he ends up hobbling up there. And as the story goes that I think it was Bob Didier, I believe it was, the scout told him that if he ever gets to a 3-2 count, it's always a backdoor slider. And that was the thing is like, he had no chance on Dennis's fastball, no chance. You can see that if you go back and watch it right now, he had no chance of doing it. There was I think he topped one over and, I went up to field. It was just barely fouled by a foot or two. But And all of a sudden he remembered that and threw that backdoor breaking ball, and that was the only pitch that he can ever put into play. And he did it, hit it over my head, and turned there, put my head down on the ground, and walked in the dugout. It was as quiet as could be.
Years later, he got him back.
Yeah. Not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you hate to bring up bad, obviously, but that honestly is like one of the iconic home runs in baseball history because it happened in the World Series.
Yeah.
It was so, Mark grabbed him and was like, hey, Ragdoll, I'm going to throw you over here. And Kirk Gibson was a bad dude now.
Yeah, that's why. That was a legendary brawl with the coaches more than the players.
Yeah. We're not talking about the brawl. We're talking about, other stuff.
Yes.
We got into it. You were in LA in 14, were you not? 2014, you were coaching?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was with the Cardinals, and we cleared in the playoffs. And I'm like, if Mark McGwire comes to get me, I'm running. Because we cleared in L.A. because Adrian Gonzalez said something to Yachty, and he scored or hit a home run, and then and I'm like, oh, shit, if Mark McGwire grabs me, I don't know. I don't want no fault. Where's Kershaw at? He can hug over here. I'm not letting McGwire get a hold of me, though.
Yeah, they're like you said, they're all hug fest usually, except for the other day. That was pretty.
Yeah, exactly. They stand out a lot nowadays when they're not hug fest.
For
That's
sure.
why, I'll tell you.
Yeah.